If you think Dave Castro is back to save the CrossFit Games, you're really missing the bigger picture. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be speaking about Dave Castro's return to CrossFit. Now, if you think, well, that's kind of old news, it's because I wanted to have a little bit more information before I started speaking about it. So I have watched the Morning Chalk Up's speculation. I have watched Dave Castro's first week in review, and I've watched the Savan podcast where he has interviewed Dave Castro about his return. So I kind of feel like now I have enough information to talk about Dave's return to CrossFit. So before I get into what Dave Castro's return to CrossFit means, and maybe more importantly what it doesn't mean, I would just ask if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. It really does help me out. So let's talk about Castro. Now, as I mentioned at the very start of the video, if we think it's all about the games, we're wrong. No matter what people may think, no matter what people may hope, and that's not a bad thing. So obviously Dave is so closely associated with the CrossFit Games that it's understandable, or at least it's understandable for the most part. I did find it interesting how much the Morning Chalk Up Bottom Line video kept talking about Dave in relation to the sport of CrossFit, even though they acknowledged that his role was linked to the affiliates. Now, obviously, this is because that's what people want to hear them talk about with regards to Dave. Even Savan mentioned that 90% of the questions he had were regarding the games, but it's probably the 10% that are the more important questions. So as much as we might want that to be the story, it isn't. Now, does this mean that Dave's return will have zero impact on the games? Well, not necessarily. He did mention that he's spoken with Adrian Bosman. Bosman knows that the door is open, that if he ever wants to speak to Dave, if he wants some advice on something, if he wants to sound him out on something or any suggestions, he is there. But at the same time, he did say he probably wouldn't even be at the games, and that would be more of a personal issue for him, considering how the games was kind of his baby. He created it, and then it was ripped away from him. To be there and not be in control would be very difficult for him. Speaking to Savan, he referred to the CrossFit Games as his baby. He birthed it, he nurtured it, he grew it into what it was. He even had an exit strategy, wanting to leave after 20 years of programming, and in those final years would have been grooming a team of people to take his place. But that was ripped away from him, and he still clearly feels the pain of that decision. But here's the interesting thing. As much as he loved the CrossFit Games, he clearly cares more about the affiliates. He cares more about the box owners, the coaches, than he does the sport of CrossFit. He would not go back to work for the very company that stripped the games away from him if he didn't care so deeply about the community. And I guess that brings us back to what he actually is doing. So we know that he will report directly to Alison Andreozzi, the interim CEO of CrossFit. I did do a video in case you forgot who she is. And he's basically speaking to people within a number of divisions at CrossFit and then feeding that back to her. But most importantly, he's speaking to the affiliates. Now, if you watch his week in review video, you can see just in 1 week to how many places he traveled, how many box owners he spoke to. Or better yet, he listened to. Now, that's nothing new for Dave. We know that he would always drop into local affiliates when he was touring around on behalf of CrossFit. And I think that the community got Dave wrong a lot of the time. We very much put him as the man behind the games, the man who wanted to torture these superhuman athletes. But Dave himself, when speaking to Savannah, said that, the games athletes, they aren't the real heroes. Sure, we should respect them for what they do, but it's the coaches, the box owners, the people that are changing people's lives every day. They are the true heroes. And really, he mentioned that they don't get enough credit, or maybe they're not highlighted enough, and that he plans to change that. And I found that interesting just because it's a common theme that I've been hearing from different ones within CrossFit. The fact that perhaps the attention that the games gets and all of the, as much as we love speaking about the games and we love what they do, it seems that often detracts attention from maybe bigger stories, more important stories that are happening within the affiliates. And even Dave referred to the sport of CrossFit as entertainment. Now, entertainment is great, right? But only in moderation. It makes life enjoyable, but we still need to do the more important things in life. Now, another thing I noticed in Dave's talks, well, maybe it's more the lack of talking on his part. It seems that in the meetings that he's gone to with these affiliates, he's more there to listen than to speak. So it's not that he's going and pushing a narrative, trying to promote CrossFit and make out that everything they're doing is correct. He's there to listen to ideas, grievances, what's happening on the ground level within the affiliates. And that's going to be the only way that CrossFit is going to be able to support and help them when they need it. Even on Savant's podcast, he listened very carefully to every question, sometimes even asking for the question to maybe be slightly reworded so it would be more accurate. He was very precise in the way in which he answered. And he even asked for people like Savant to hold them accountable. But he also stood up for CrossFit HQ. And he told Savant that at times he's been crossing the line. And it's so interesting, isn't it, that he is saying this about a company that fired him, a company that took the games away from him. Now, he could have let pride stop him from coming back. But he clearly cares so deeply for the community, and he must trust the new direction that CrossFit has started heading in order for him to come back and start working with them once again. And I think that that is probably the thing that should fill us with the most confidence. And at the end of the day, is way more important in the long run than anything that might happen this game season. Well, how do you feel about Dave Castro's return, or what would you like to see him do? Why not sound off in the comments below? But all I can say is welcome back, Dave Castro. I believe the community has been awaiting your return. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget, please, to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in a future video.